In February 2026, reports confirmed that Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the man the world knew as El Mencho, had been killed during a military operation in Jalisco, Mexico. For more than a decade, he had been one of the most wanted figures in the global drug trade, the leader of CJNG, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and the target of a $10 million reward offered by the U.S. State Department. His death marked the fall of a cartel empire that had shaped violence, money flows, and power struggles across Mexico and beyond. But in the days that followed, one unexpected detail quietly caught the attention of investigators and journalists. At the funeral of El Mencho, cameras captured a young woman standing among those paying their respects. Her name was Laisha Oseguera González, the youngest daughter of the cartel leader, and her presence immediately raised a question that has followed her for years. How is she still free? Nearly everyone connected to the inner circle of El Mencho's family has faced prison, prosecution, or death. Her brother, Rubén Oseguera González, El Menchito, is serving life in a U.S. federal prison. Her sister, Jessica Johanna Oseguera, served 30 months for a financial case linked to cartel businesses. Her husband, Christian Fernando Gutiérrez Ochoa, known as El Gaucho, was later sentenced to more than 11 years in the United States. Her mother, Rosalinda González Valencia, has also faced legal battles tied to cartel finances. Yet, Laisha Oseguera González remains different from everyone else in the dynasty. She is a U.S. citizen, reportedly living somewhere in California, while authorities in Mexico still want to question her about a 2021 kidnapping case. So, the mystery remains. How did the youngest daughter of El Mencho manage to stay free while the empire around her collapsed? To understand how Laisha Oseguera González ended up living between two worlds, it is necessary to begin with the family she was born into, because her story did not start with a single criminal figure, but with the merging of two powerful dynasties that investigators have followed for decades. Her father, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, widely known as El Mencho, rose to prominence as the leader of CJNG, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, an organization authorities in Mexico and the United States have described as one of the most powerful criminal groups operating in the Western Hemisphere. During the 2000s and 10s, CJNG expanded rapidly, building trafficking routes that stretched from Mexico into the United States, while also establishing networks that investigators say reached parts of Europe, Asia, and Latin America. For years, law enforcement agencies across multiple countries attempted to capture El Mencho, and the U.S. State Department eventually placed a $10 million reward on information leading to his arrest, one of the highest bounties ever offered for a cartel leader. But the other side of Laisha's family carried just as much influence. Her mother, Rosalinda González Valencia, came from the powerful González Valencia family, a network that investigators say played a major role in the financial operations connected to CJNG. Several members of that family were linked by authorities to a group often referred to as Los Quines, which prosecutors have described as a sophisticated financial structure that allegedly handled money movement, business fronts, and international transactions tied to cartel activities. Over the years, investigative reports suggested that this network controlled dozens of legitimate-looking companies, including restaurants, agricultural operations, real estate businesses, and tourism ventures, allowing large amounts of money to move through the economy without immediately attracting suspicion. In many ways, analysts say the strength of CJNG did not come only from its operational power, but from the financial systems built around it. The marriage between El Mencho and Rosalinda González Valencia effectively combined two essential pillars of organized crime: operational control and financial infrastructure. From that union came 3 children, and the youngest of them was Laisha Oseguera González, reportedly born around 2001 in California, making her a citizen of the United States from birth. That detail may appear simple, but within families operating across borders, it carried enormous strategic value. American citizenship meant mobility, legal protections, and the ability to enter and remain in the United States without the barriers that many cartel members faced. While CJNG expanded throughout the 2000s and 2010s, Laisha grew up in a world defined by wealth, secrecy, and constant pressure from authorities trying to dismantle the organization her father led. Her older brother, Rubén Oseguera González, El Menchito, would later become one of the most visible figures connected to the cartel's leadership, while her sister Jessica Johanna Oseguera became linked to financial operations tied to family businesses. But as the youngest child, Laisha seemed to occupy a quieter position inside the dynasty, observing the system that surrounded her while holding something unique that none of the others could fully use in the same way: a legal identity rooted inside the United States, the very country that spent years trying to dismantle the empire her father built. As CJNG expanded during the 2000s, pressure from law enforcement in both Mexico and the United States intensified. Arrests, financial investigations, and international cooperation between agencies began targeting the organization from multiple directions. Within this environment, every member of El Mencho's family faced increasing scrutiny, yet each seemed to follow a different path as authorities attempted to map the structure surrounding the cartel's leadership. The most visible was Rubén Oseguera González, El Menchito, the eldest son, whom investigators often described as a central operational figure inside the organization. According to prosecutors, he was deeply involved in the coordination of trafficking routes and leadership decisions within CJNG, a role that eventually placed him directly in the crosshairs of both Mexican and American authorities. His sister, Jessica Johanna Oseguera, would later appear in legal cases tied to financial operations involving businesses that prosecutors said were connected to the broader economic network surrounding the cartel. But while her siblings were gradually becoming visible within investigations, Laisha Oseguera González appeared to remain far less exposed. Information about her during those years was surprisingly limited for someone connected to one of the most powerful criminal families in Mexico. Unlike many cartel heirs who became known for displaying wealth or influence publicly, Laisha rarely appeared in headlines or widely circulated reports. Investigators reviewing the family's structure later suggested that maintaining a lower profile may have allowed her to move quietly between Mexico and the United States, taking advantage of her American citizenship while remaining outside the direct focus of ongoing investigations. Growing up between these two environments meant she understood something few people inside cartel families fully experience: the contrast between life inside regions influenced by organized crime and the legal protections provided by the United States legal system. That unique position may have helped her develop a different approach to survival than the more visible roles taken by her siblings. By the early 2020s, however, a new relationship would bring Laisha closer to the center of the story than ever before. Around 2020 or 2021, she became involved with Christian Fernando Gutiérrez Ochoa, a man identified in several reports by the nickname El Gaucho. This relationship was more than simply personal, because El Gaucho himself came from a family already connected to the broader network surrounding CJNG. His father, José Luis Gutiérrez Valencia, had been described in investigative reports as a longtime figure linked to cartel operations, meaning that the relationship effectively connected two families already operating within the same circle of influence. In many organized crime structures, alliances like this are rarely accidental. Family ties often reinforce trust, ensuring that sensitive operations remain within a small group of relatives and long-standing associates. For Laisha, this relationship marked a turning point. Until then, she had largely remained a quiet figure inside a powerful but dangerous family environment. But through Christian Gutierrez Ochoa, she was now closely connected to someone prosecutors later described as being involved in cross-border trafficking and financial operations tied to CJNG. As the pressure on the cartel increased during the early 2020s, that connection would soon place her much closer to a moment that investigators say changed everything. A decision made in November 2021 that would transform her from a largely unknown member of a cartel dynasty into a person wanted by authorities in Mexico. The turning point in the story of Laisha Oseguera González arrived in November 2021, when an event unfolded that would pull her name directly into one of the most serious investigations connected to the family of El Mencho. On November 15, 2021, authorities in Mexico arrested Rosalinda González Valencia, the mother of Laisha and the wife of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, on accusations related to financial activities that prosecutors believed were connected to the economic network surrounding CJNG. For investigators who had spent years examining the structure of the cartel, Rosalinda's detention carried enormous weight. She had long been described in intelligence reports as a key figure linked to businesses and companies that authorities suspected were used to move large amounts of money through legitimate-looking commercial operations. Her arrest therefore struck directly at what analysts often call the financial backbone of a cartel organization. Within hours of that arrest, according to investigative reports later referenced by Mexican authorities, a desperate plan began to take shape among people close to the family. The strategy was both bold and extremely risky. Create pressure on the government by targeting members of the state itself. On the same day Rosalinda González Valencia was taken into custody, 2 members of the Mexican Navy were reportedly abducted in Zapopan, Jalisco, a city long considered an area where CJNG had maintained significant influence. The location of the incident made it even more shocking. Authorities stated that the kidnapping occurred in broad daylight in a Walmart parking lot, a public setting where few would expect trained military personnel to suddenly disappear. According to investigators, the operation appeared coordinated and deliberate, suggesting that those responsible had knowledge of the targets and their movements. For 4 days, the 2 naval personnel remained missing, while security forces launched a large search operation across the region. Families waited for information as authorities attempted to track the victim's location inside territory where cartel influence could complicate any investigation. Then, on November 19, 2021, the situation changed again. Both individuals were discovered alive near Puerto Vallarta, kneeling on the roadside. Official reports indicated that the female sailor had no major physical injuries, though she had clearly endured a traumatic experience. The male sailor, however, had reportedly been beaten during captivity. Investigators quickly concluded that the kidnapping had been intended as a form of pressure, connected to the arrest of Rosalinda González Valencia. Authorities believed the abductors hoped that targeting members of the Mexican Navy might force the government to reconsider holding a figure viewed as central to the cartel's financial operations. But the strategy failed. Mexican officials did not negotiate, and Rosalinda remained in custody. Instead, the kidnapping triggered a major investigation aimed at identifying those responsible for targeting members of the armed forces. As authorities began piecing together the timeline through intelligence reports and witness statements, attention turned toward individuals believed to be connected to the planning behind the incident. Among the names that appeared in the investigation were Christian Fernando Gutiérrez Ochoa, El Gaucho, and Laisha Oseguera González. Mexican prosecutors eventually issued warrants connected to the kidnapping case, alleging that people close to the cartel leadership had been involved in coordinating the operation. For Laisha, the consequences were immediate. Until that moment, she had largely remained outside the spotlight of major investigations. Now, her name was linked to a case involving the abduction of military personnel, one of the most serious crimes under Mexican law. And as pressure from authorities intensified, the choices facing her and El Gaucho became increasingly limited: remain in Mexico where the risks were growing rapidly, or disappear somewhere beyond the reach of the investigation. After the events of November 2021, the environment surrounding Laisha Oseguera González changed dramatically. Mexican authorities had begun building a case connected to the kidnapping of 2 Mexican Navy members, and both her name and the name of Christian Fernando Gutiérrez Ochoa, El Gaucho, had started appearing in investigative reports tied to the incident. For individuals connected to a powerful cartel family already under intense scrutiny, that level of exposure created a dangerous situation. Law enforcement agencies were searching for those believed to be involved. Rival groups were watching closely, and every movement carried the possibility of arrest or retaliation. In that environment, remaining in Mexico became increasingly risky. But unlike many people connected to the cartel, Laisha possessed something that fundamentally changed her options. She had been born in the United States, reportedly in California around 2001, which meant she held American citizenship. That single legal detail created a pathway that few members of cartel families could use so directly. As a U.S. citizen, Laisha Oseguera González had the legal right to enter and live in the United States, a country whose legal system operates independently from the warrants issued in Mexico. While international cooperation between governments can lead to extradition in some situations, the process is complex and often depends on whether charges exist within the jurisdiction where the person resides. For Laisha, that meant the United States could effectively become a place where she could remain outside the immediate reach of the investigation unfolding in Mexico. The situation was far more complicated for El Gaucho. Unlike Laisha, he did not possess American citizenship, and prosecutors later alleged that he had been involved in large-scale trafficking operations, moving narcotics from Mexico into the United States. According to later court filings, authorities claimed that between 2014 and 2023, he had allegedly helped coordinate the transportation of tens of thousands of kilograms of methamphetamine and thousands of kilograms of cocaine across the border. Those accusations made him a high-priority target for law enforcement. By 2023, investigators say El Gaucho attempted to disappear inside the United States using a completely new identity. Prosecutors later stated that he used fraudulent identification documents under the name Luis Miguel Martinez, allowing him to obtain a California driver's license in September 2023 with a fabricated Social Security number. During this period, reports indicated that Laisha was already living in Southern California, and the couple had reportedly purchased a home valued at approximately $1.2 million in Riverside, California. From the outside, their life appeared almost ordinary, a quiet suburban neighborhood, far removed from the regions of Jalisco, where CJNG had once operated with overwhelming influence. Yet behind that calm appearance remained an unresolved reality. While Laisha Oseguera González was legally living in the United States, the investigation connected to the 2021 kidnapping case in Mexico had never truly disappeared. By 2026, the once powerful family structure surrounding Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, had largely collapsed under years of arrests, prosecutions, and international investigations. For more than a decade, authorities in Mexico and the United States had focused on dismantling the leadership network connected to CJNG, and over time the pressure began reaching the people closest to the cartel leader himself. His eldest son, Rubén Oseguera González, El Menchito, was ultimately sentenced to life in a U.S. federal prison, becoming one of the most prominent figures from the cartel's leadership circle to face conviction in the United States. His daughter, Jessica Johanna Oseguera, served 30 months in prison after pleading guilty to a charge connected to financial activities involving businesses that prosecutors linked to the broader cartel network. His wife, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, also faced legal cases tied to financial operations that investigators believed supported the organization's economic structure. Then, in February 2026, reports confirmed that Mencho himself had been killed during a military operation in Jalisco, marking the end of the life of one of the most wanted cartel leaders in modern history. Yet, amid the downfall of this powerful dynasty, one figure remained in an unusual position: Laisha Oseguera González. Unlike her brother, she has never been prosecuted in U.S. courts. Unlike her sister, she has not served time connected to financial operations. And unlike many relatives tied to cartel families, she's not been confirmed killed or imprisoned following the collapse of the organization's leadership. Instead, she continues to occupy a complicated legal space between two countries. Authorities in Mexico still seek to question her in connection with the 2021 kidnapping case, while as a U.S. citizen, she retains the right to live inside the United States, where no public criminal charges have been filed against her. That reality leaves one lingering question surrounding the youngest daughter of Mencho. How long can someone remain on the edge of a collapsing empire without eventually being pulled into its consequences? The story of Laisha Oseguera González remains one of the most unusual chapters in the downfall of the family surrounding Mencho. Over the past decade, investigators in Mexico and the United States have spent enormous resources dismantling the network connected to CJNG, targeting the people who controlled its operations, finances, and logistics. One by one, many of the names tied to that inner circle faced arrest, prosecution, or death. Yet Laisha appears to have navigated a path that kept her largely outside those outcomes. Born in California, raised between Mexico and the United States, and connected by family ties to one of the most powerful cartel structures of the modern era, she represents a rare example of someone standing between two legal worlds at the same time. While authorities in Mexico continue to pursue investigations tied to the 2021 kidnapping case, the reality remains that she is also an American citizen, living under a legal system where no public charges have been filed against her. For analysts who study organized crime, this situation raises an important question about the future of cartel dynasties. As cross-border families grow more complex and legal identities span multiple countries, cases like Laisha Oseguera González may become far more difficult to resolve. And that leaves one final question still unanswered. Is her story truly over, or is this only the beginning of a much longer chapter?